and he failed to convert twice on 4th and 1. The Titans, Derrick Henry, again, what a game, had 195 yards on the ground and became the first player to have 2 games of at least 175 rushing yards in the same postseason. So, Reggie, what was the biggest reason the Titans upset the Ravens?
I think the biggest reason, first of all, congratulations to the Titans because they played a tremendous football game. I did not think beforehand that I would say that the Tennessee Titans were just a better team all around, but they proved that, and they proved a lot of people wrong, including myself. But I think the biggest thing that happened in this game that I think nobody's talking about is the coaches for the Baltimore Ravens did not adjust to the state of the game. They tried to just continue to do Baltimore Ravens stuff, the things that they've gotten away with all season long, right? Ground and pound with Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram. I'm throwing the football through the air, but in 3 of the games that they lost this year, they trailed by 14 points, right? And so what that tells me is that they're not adjusting when they get down, right? After they went down 14-0, 2 of the next 4 drives took 5 minutes each, a combined total of 10 minutes, and it only got 3 points, right? And so you get almost nothing, and you're still trying to ground and pound when you're down 14-0, and the game didn't call for that. I think the game called for more throwing of the football by Lamar Jackson, and we saw Baltimore still try to do the same things they've done, the 4th and 1 attempts that they continue to miss and come up short on. And after the first one, they missed that. I was like, okay, the next one, they should have maybe punted the football and forced Tennessee to drive it. But they kept giving Tennessee the ball in short fields, and so it made it easier for them. And then Derrick Henry just went to work on them. So I think that the Baltimore Ravens coaches should have done a better job at adjusting to the state of the game and not continue to try to ground and pound when they were down 14 points.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you because I think the thing is the way they're constructed, Skip, they're not constructed to come from behind. And see, what happens is that when you run the football, that's what happens, Skip. You run out of time trying to catch up. You mentioned they had a couple of drives, but it took 10 minutes. Well, that's a third of the game, especially in the second half. So, and you only got 3 points to show for it. I thought, Skip, once they fell behind by 14, they got away and they said, Lamar, just throw. Skip, Lamar Jackson is not equipped. Their offense isn't equipped for him to throw the ball 60 times. That was far too much. Actually, the Tennessee Titans remind me of the 2000 Ravens.
They do.
They run the football.
Yeah, they do.
They don't put the ball, they don't turn it over, and we're going to play for a big play. You make a mistake, we catch you in the wrong defense at the right time, we hit you with the 45-yard over the top. That's the way they play in the game. We're not going to get, you moved now. We stifle people. You weren't moving the ball up and down the field at all.
No.
You weren't moving anything. But that's the way they're playing, Skip. They're saying, we're going to run with Derrick Henry. We're going to minimize the quarterback putting the ball in harm's way. Hence, 73 yards, 85 yards. Okay, if you're going to give a short field, we only got to go 40 yards for touchdowns? We'll take that. But I thought for the very first time this year, Reggie, I thought Lamar tried to show he's the MVP as opposed to playing quarterbacks. On those keepers, the front side is there. You can't cut back because there's a reason why you bounced it to begin with. What makes you think you could, on a short yardage? You can skip, not on the quarterback sneak. You can't reverse field on a quarterback sneak. You either go with it and says, okay, they got me on this one, but you can't bounce it back. He tried to bounce it, and they gobbled it up for both times. I just thought, and I don't think it got in his head, but I just thought that once they fell behind and their offense is not conducive to play from behind, they got totally out of their rhythm. And Tennessee was perfectly fine for them moving the ball between the 20s. We just not going to let you in the end zone.
Let me ask you this question because you said they're not equipped to come from behind, but we've seen that this offense is capable of scoring fast. We've seen that time and time again. And we've also seen Lamar Jackson be able to go in empty and be able to get the answers to the test in the pre-snap read and do a great job at distributing the football all across the field. So you say they're not equipped, but I've seen them be able to do that. They just need to do it consistently more.
They can do it, Skip, on their terms. See, they're doing this on their terms.
They're ahead.
They're already up 14. They're already in situations because you mentioned when they fall behind by 14, they've lost those games. Cleveland, prime example.
40 to 25.
40 to 25.
Lost at home.
They lost at home. This game here. So now we're asking Lamar. So they was like, okay, run it. We dare you to run it. Because guess what? Every time you run, and by the time you get 20 yards and get back to the huddle, almost a minute's gone off the clock. So we got no problem with that. We just don't want you to throw your way back into this ball game. 60 attempts, Patrick Mahomes, you wouldn't even bat an eye because that's their offense. That's not the Baltimore Ravens offense.
So, obviously, Lamar Jackson is going to take the bulk of the blame for this shocking loss because he is the quarterback of a team that we all thought was just going to skate to the Super Bowl. But I believe John Harbaugh deserves even more blame, and I respect him. He is a very good football coach, proven for many years to be that. But this game was lost 3 weeks ago on the final regular season Sunday at Baltimore against Pittsburgh when John Harbaugh opted to play virtually nobody. 3 weeks is too long to wait for a still young quarterback and sort of a young offense to get completely out of sync and have to come back against a team that came in hot and rolling off its big win at New England. And on a shockingly hot night in Baltimore in January, the home team came out cold and rusty. And Lamar was just a little bit off the whole game. He never got in rhythm the way he was, where he was just slicing and dicing. He got in running rhythm later in the game, but to your point, they mostly just said, okay, if you want those 15 or 20, but we're ahead 28 to 12, whatever, you know, you're not going to get us with the big play. And Tennessee has a formula going that is shocking to me because I'm not a Ryan Tannehill fan, but they threw 14 passes the other night. He completed 7. But the 2 biggest throws of the game went to 2 guys I'd never even heard of before. Their third-string tight end, Jonnu Smith, made the catch of the night over in the corner of the end zone.
one-hander.
I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And then that little Khalif Raymond, who runs 4.3 out of Holy Cross, undrafted, who had caught 3 passes the whole year. He caught the throw of the game, 45 yards. You want to talk about dropping a dime? That was a throw, man. And it just shocked the home team. That was kind of the end of it right there. Because what? That just happened? Wow.
And Marlon Humphrey's like, safety, where are you? I got outside leverage. And here you are, you biting on a route. First of all, you 14 yards in the hole. You biting on a shallow cross. What you going to do?
Exactly.
I don't know. Shell shock. They weren't ready for the onslaught. And once you give them those 2 plays, 2 touchdown passes out of the 7 completions.
Well, you start to
Here
press.
comes the big dog.
You start as a defense, when you're at home and you're expected to win, you fall behind. Now all of a sudden you start to press. You start to do things. He knows he shouldn't come out of the hole because he's vulnerable for anything over the top. Nothing over the top. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. And what does he do? He's trying to play somebody else's responsibility, and he gives up the big play because Marlon Humphrey has outside leverage. Because he would never, if it's 0 coverage, he would never let him inside. So just by the alignment, it tells me I got outside third. So somebody has to be deep third, middle third.
I got it. So I'm not condemning John Harbaugh for this because you're in that situation of damned if you do or damned if you don't, because if you do play your starters and somebody gets hurt, then everybody says it's your fault. And if you don't play them, this is going to happen.
Guess what? They could have got hurt week 15, could have got week 14.
And that was the point I was going to make, because if you play Lamar Jackson in that last regular season game and he gets hurt, Mark Ingram was already fighting the injuries. Then you're even worse.
Mark Ingram, I got no problem with that. He's already Nick Skip, and he wasn't himself because you see how sporadic he played in the divisional round. Well, guess what? Mike Shanahan did the exact same thing in 1996, Skip. We had the division sold up. We go into San Diego. Mike says, okay, Shannon, John, y'all sit it down.
And
guess what happened? Jacksonville, 2 years in, they had just become they were an expansion team. 95 was their first year. The next year, they come right to Denver, 13-3, and beat the brakes. They got out to
Mark Brunell.
Yes. And guess what happened? Natron Means, we couldn't stop the run. We couldn't get the ball back. And lo and behold, guess what? I'm with my head down all offseason. Guess what happened in '98? We got the division sold up. We had the division sold up like in Thanksgiving. You're playing
the whole game.
You're playing.
There you go. So I hate to say this, but Lamar's going to have to live with an off-season narrative that's going to go all through next year. Can you turn it back around in the playoffs? Because he's had 2 stinkers now in 2 playoff games.
He has played poorly, but I wouldn't put all of this on him. But I wouldn't be surprised either if he takes it all on himself.
Well, he got the interceptions here. And Skip, how long does he think he has to throw the ball in the pocket? Now, he escapes Casey to begin with. And he still pats the ball. Dude, you just why'd you step up in the pocket?
Take off.
Because you know Casey almost got you.
Second year.
I was so young still. So